your daily updates. Newsman Dennis Daly offers his take on the events of the day in another daily video blog.
Hi, and thanks again, everybody. I'm standing in front of a glorious fountain here in the Los Feliz section of Los Angeles, an area that had mansions before Beverly Hills. But this fountain is a monument to a man who didn't live in a mansion here. As a matter of fact, the intersection of Riverside and Los Feliz used to be a squatter's camp. William Mulholland lived in a tent here. He was a self-made man who would go on to become one of the most beloved and hated people in the early days of California.
Mulholland was an Irish immigrant who came to the U.S. in the 1870s. On the positive side, he was a self-made man working his way up from pipe layer to head of the Los Angeles Water Company. It was under his direction that the massive, innovative aqueduct system that carries water from upstate down into Los Angeles was built. Initially, it was nearly 150 complex miles. The first part was finished just in time for what would become the exponential growth of the Los Angeles area. Mulholland hired more than 5,000 engineers and workers and had them bore more than 160 tunnels. At the opening ceremonies of Phase 1, his comments were short and sweet. They became the 5 most famous words in Los Angeles history. He told the assembled crowd, "There it is, take it." The opportunities created by his aqueduct made Mulholland an overnight star and a very powerful man. His private offices were on the top floor of Sid Grauman's new multi-million-dollar Chinese theater, and he hobnobbed with the rich and famous. But his career would take a sudden turn, and his memory would soon be tainted forever. March 12, 1928, one of his pet projects, the St. Francis Dam, suddenly collapsed. It had happened just hours after Mulholland, a self-taught engineer, had personally inspected the site, declaring the leakage to be normal. As seen in this 1920s recreation, nearly 13 billion gallons of water suddenly rushed through the Santa Clarita Valley. A 100-foot-tall wall of water inundated farms and small towns. Mud and debris covered areas to a depth of 60 feet. It would be months before 450 bodies would be found. Many were thought to have been washed out to sea. Mulholland took full responsibility and resigned in disgrace.
But there is another dam in the system very much like the St. Francis Dam in design and also put there by Mulholland. It holds back the waters of the Hollywood Reservoir, and this dam is just above Hollywood in the hills. If it ever failed, just imagine. So people were quick to say something has to be done about this. There has to be a repair. And the repair was to bolster up the backside of the dam. And what you are seeing is not what you might expect. Think of the face of Hoover Dam, all of that cement. But what do we have here? Trees and dirt and brush, because much of the face of this dam was filled in to avert the kind of disaster that happened up at St. Francis. For if this dam were to ever let go, the tragedy would be immense. Downtown Hollywood is right there, and people in the area were determined that the Mulholland mistake would not happen twice. Yes, it is quite a story, and with the passage of time, it is becoming more and more forgotten. The story of a lonely little man who made good with his life, but made some major mistakes along the way, who is vilified by most people, remembered by few, except those of us who know about his fountain. I'm Dennis Daly with your Daily News Update.